Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for this LEOpropcrowd project webinar on behalf of the Avon Valley Apartments in Bitten. Delighted tonight to be joined by Beaumont Homes with Ed and Miles, both here. So you're both very welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody.
Good evening.
And also on the screen there is Avina, and Avina is part of our LEOpropcrowd team. She's actually our investment analyst. So say a quick hello to you, Avina.
Hi David. Hi everyone.
Brilliant, thank you. So I've asked Avina to join to keep an eye on the Q&As for me. So if you want to, Avina, you can knock off your camera and go to mute, and then I can bring you back in as required regarding the Q&A. So thank you for that. So we will be using the Q&A tonight, everyone, so not the chat box. So if you do have a question, and absolutely tonight is about asking any question that you have about the project, then please put it into the Q&A, and that will allow us to look at it. This is being recorded, so we will not mention the name who's asking the question, because some people may not want their name mentioned and recorded, and we'll just try and get the questions answered as we can. So thank you everyone for joining tonight. Really do appreciate you taking the time. We should be doing this in 35-40 minutes, but we just knew it was really important to run this webinar tonight, because tomorrow this project goes live, and we wanted the opportunity for potential investors to speak directly to Ed and to Miles and the Beaumont team. So officially, my name David Johnstone, MD of LEOpropcrowd. We are a property crowdfunding platform. I do need to point out, as it says along the bottom, we are an appointed representative of a company called Sharon Limited, which is authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So what we're doing here tonight falls under financial promotions. All these slides have been approved for financial promotions. So we want to make sure that we keep within obviously compliance and guidelines on that. So you can go on to the FCA register. You'll find my name as an approved person, and of course our company if you wish to do that. So getting in to the project itself. So here's the headlines before we dive in with Beaumont Homes. This is a project to build 3 apartments in a town called Bitten. We'll go through the location in a minute, but the headline figures are this. It's an equity raise. They're looking for £100,000. The projected return on investment of this project is 30%. We may cover later on the fact that we've structured this in such a way as if there are some delays that actually the investors can actually increase their return on that. But the headline figure, projected ROI, 30%. We're estimating this to be a 12-month project, and the minimum investment is actually £100. That's quite a small entry level, and one reason for that is because this is an education project. And again, I will be discussing this with Ed and Miles later on. This is a project where Ed and Miles and the Beaumont team are happy to share with investors the process of doing a development. So for £100, if you're interested in learning about development, understanding the thought processes, the systems, how it all goes together, and of course the big decision-making points that have to be made at time to time, then you can actually see that from the inside, and that's through monthly updates, it's through webinars, it's through potential site visits whenever we get past the COVID-19. But this really is an interesting angle, and you'll find Ed and Miles very approachable, very open as to how they do their developments, and hence this is what we call an education project. So this investment does go live for investment at 12 o'clock tomorrow. And while I have to choose my wording carefully because I'm not trying to create a fear of loss, the reality is we have had significant interest in this project in terms of people registering on the platform, in terms of people leaving their email and an indication of what they would like to invest. So if this is something that you are interested in, well then we go live tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and we'll cover that at the end. So getting straight on into it, let me again sort of officially welcome Miles and Ed. I'm delighted that you've been willing to give up part of your Wednesday evening outside working hours, gentlemen, but we appreciate you coming on to speak to the potential investors. So formal welcome, and I've enjoyed working with you guys now for probably about a year and a half. I've done some site visits, and enjoyed meeting your team in Bristol. So I've got to know you very well, and I'm delighted that we're doing this project together. So I think, first of all, Miles, keen that perhaps you give an overview on the background to your company, Beaumont Homes, sort of what you've done, and that'll lead us into the rest of the presentation.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I am Miles. I'm the father of Edward on my left here. And in the photograph that I hope you're looking at, there are two gentlemen. One of them is Edward, the guy in the middle, and the other guy on the left is my other son, Bradley. There is a daughter who's on maternity leave, but she's part of the team as well. The photograph on the left-hand side is a development that I did prior to my children finishing their education. I started the business 36 years ago. I am a chartered building surveyor, not the valuation type. I'm the type that would supervise and raise contracts and authorize payments on contracts. I was originally employed when I was 17 by Wimpy Construction as a management trainee, and it was them who sent me to college. And then I was a building surveyor for the civil service. Then I went into business, and I have built the business up from zero up until this point now. The hiatus of the business with my involvement was in 2010. Since then, I've been helping my children run the business. But my role is to give strategic guidance, give an overview. I also make introductions to find the sites. I do problem solving. I'm a sounding board. I'm the troubleshooter. I make sure in a hands-off type of way that there's no major problems. I call them icebergs. If there are any icebergs coming into view, I grab hold the steering wheel and steer around them.
Very good, very good. And you've done well over 300 units, as I understand, over that period of time. So that's quite a track record, Miles.
Yeah, the business, in a small way, started in 85. I traded into in a much smaller capacity than I eventually ended up running. But I steered the business through the 1990 recession. Through, that's when we had a massive price fall. I steered the business through the 2000 downturn. I have also steered the business through what I refer to as the Great Recession, which really, that was 2008 to about 2012, perhaps. I've also steered the family businesses through the Brexit issues, which did restrain. I did try and restrain the ambition of my children during that period. Mm-hmm. We thought the market was taking off again in December, November, just gone. That was a correct decision, but the COVID emergency that arrived in March well, we steered our way through that
Brilliant.
as
Okay.
well.
Okay. And in terms of currently, we're going to talk about COVID just in a minute, but I believe this picture is a project that is literally just finishing now. So this is one that you've just been completing.
Yeah, do you wish me to speak on that?
Yeah, well, if you
one?
want to just quickly explain what this project was, just the number of units, location, just in about 30 seconds.
Okay, well, because of the Brexit and the lead up to the Brexit, we didn't buy many sites last year. We decided to trade down in the volume and buy and do smaller sites. This was a site that is a build to rent site. The one you're looking at, that was 10 apartments. Of course, we run our own the boys run their own construction companies, so we're able to manage the process very, very carefully. But we decided, because of the Brexit, because of the COVID, we thought we wouldn't be too ambitious this year. We've tried to secure sites that are, as far as we can see, are bomb-proof. We're in this for longevity, we're not trying to build a massive business. So what we're doing at the moment is smaller stuff until we can find out exactly what's happening. Perhaps in a year's time we'll jack it back up again. But at the moment we're very comfortable, and we're very comfortable. We manage everything okay.
Okay.
We have suffered it. We have suffered. I'm not saying we come out of this completely undamaged, but we managed the situation a lot better than most people, I think.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I think everyone's had a obviously an impact of some description over this past 2 or 3 months. You couldn't not have been affected in some way. So yeah, we'll be talking about COVID just in a wee second. So Ed, to bring you on this one, just so our potential investors who are on the webinar understand that you actually have already completed a crowdfunding raise. So this isn't the first time you've done this. You understand what it means to go out to a group of investors, how shareholding agreements are put together, the whole mechanisms of dealing with your senior debt and crowdfunding. You've been through this already. You've walked that path. Do you want to just sort of quickly give a brief overview on a previous project that you successfully raised for?
Yeah, sure. So up until about a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have known what crowdfunding was. But as I've become more and more involved in the business, I was interested in new ways for us to do business, relying less on banks. And I came across John Corey talking about crowdfunding, and it seemed like an interesting new idea and something that we could leverage our experience and our credibility to attract some investment to our business. So I did tread that path last summer. It was a learning process. We came into it very raw, and we were successful in we overcame a few hurdles with the senior lender, but all in all, we raised £170,000 equity within 28 days, and it was 170 shares, £1,000 each, and we had 36 unconnected investors. So it was 36 people that who have never invested with us before invested in that project, which was something that we're very proud of.
Yeah, excellent. And I think that project is sort of well advanced. It's on schedule.
Yeah, we're on schedule. We've sold one of the properties to subject to contracts, and we're marketing. We're in the final stages of that. The properties are watertight now.
Brilliant.
And,
Okay.
yeah, we're hoping to to be finished on that one in the next few months and all sold out.
Brilliant. Okay. So because I want to really get into the project for tonight, we'll see how time goes. We might come back to this one. Miles did allude earlier that there obviously was some impact to COVID-19, so we'll not take time tonight to delve into that. If anyone wants to ask a question about that, or we can via the forums that you can access. I'm sure Ed and Miles will happily go into more detail about the impact of COVID-19 on their business. But as they have indicated, one thing they did do was look for smaller, more manageable projects. And this one in the Avon Valley, 3 apartments, certainly allows it much easier in terms of social distancing and the different constraints that are still on construction companies. So let's get into this project tonight, the Avon Valley Apartments. For those of you who are not phenomenally aware of the geography of the United Kingdom and England, the project we're talking about is over here between Bristol and Bath. So that's the location of this project. And on screen now should be a satellite view of the town of Bitton. And in the blue highlighted is the area of the plot of land, stroke garden, that Beaumont have secured. So Ed, you want to just explain how this came about and why you identified this as potentially a good project for Beaumont Homes?
Yeah, sure thing. So we've been established in the area, we've been building in this area a long time in South Gloucestershire and Bristol. And we're actually selling some houses nearby to this site a couple of years ago. And it was just a chat with one of the estate agents who were selling those properties. They mentioned that earlier that week they'd been to view a property to value it. So the owners were looking to sell, and they asked if we would be interested in taking a look, because it had a large side garden. So we followed up the leads with we met the landowners, and we couldn't quite make the figures work buying their house and having to refurbish their house and do something in the garden. We couldn't quite make it work. So I think I'll move on to the next slide before I start talking about what we using a bit of building rapport, and we explained to the vendor how we could offer them an amount of money, £100,000 for the part of the garden that they don't use, and we would, as part of the deal, we would build them a nice garage, which they don't currently have, and it would help them sell their house if they choose to. But I think they're changing their mind now that we've told them we're going to build them a garage and they've got a bit of money. But yes, we came to a win-win situation with the vendor. An option agreement was agreed for us to promote the site through the planning process. It was a challenge. It took 18 months. Council were as difficult as they always are. But in the last few months, we received full planning permission for the 3 apartments. And yeah, we've been getting the ball rolling ever since. But it's been a bit of a slog, as they always are. A lot of effort.
Yeah. Well, sometimes in my experience, they're maybe the better ones in the sense that sometimes if things go very smoothly at the start, some of the challenges that may arise during the process don't come to light. Whereas as time goes by and as you're dealing with sometimes minor issues, particularly planning issues, other things come to light. Even circumstances can change in the economy, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. So certainly in my experience, the longer drawn out ones tend to be sometimes sort of better planned and more thought out projects.
A lot of business is relationship based, and over the 18 months, we've built up a good relationship with the vendors, and that's very important.
Very good point.
Yes, that's over the longevity of the scheme has allowed us to become friends with the vendors, which helps now.
Yeah.
now that we're doing the actual transaction, it's helpful to be on good terms.
Brilliant. Okay. So again, just sort of to be clear to the investors, there's the house in the picture, and effectively it's a large garden to the side of the house that has been optioned and we purchased for £100,000, which is the crowdfunding raise. Full planning has been approved, and in the offer document, which you can download, it will give you the reference to that, which you can go and look at. And as you've finished the other 10 apartment site, which I actually visited with you before the lockdown, your construction team is available to move on to this site quite quickly, as I understand it, and get started on this project. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. That's what we're intending. We're hoping to move with this very quickly. We're coming up to practical completion and handover of the apartments on that Hilton one, and it's our intention to move our guys straight over to this one. So yeah, we're hoping to move fast.
Okay. So the likes of, or the design on the finish of the apartments, can you just sort of intimate what sort of you went for in terms of layout and how you decided on that in terms of the finishing spec, just what you can indicate?
Yeah, sure. So we've designed these to be open plan. We've designed them to maximize their value for the resale market, but also for people interested in the rental outcome. So I took advice from a sales agent who I'm friendly with, and we've done lots of brainstorming ourselves, and we've come up with these designs that in theory should eke out every pound per square foot out of this relatively small apartment block. So we put a lot of thought into it to make them spot on, and I'm very excited to get started. We're looking to keep them to add to our business portfolio, and they're going to be built robust, future-proof, and to the highest quality. Okay.
So just on the left-hand side here, because there's been a question, we might go back to slide 6, but if this might be able to answer the question. So on a previous slide, there were a number of buildings on the plot. So just to sort of highlight what's there now and what's to be built. So this is the existing dwelling. This is what you'll be building, and then I'm assuming this is the garage part. It might be worth going back up to where's slide 6. Okay, I think there's actually another slide coming on. We'll return to that, but can you allude for using this graphic?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you
what's there and what's to be done.
Yeah, I know the site like the back of my hand now. That at the back, behind the new builds on the left hand side, that's the bin store, bin and bike store. In the longer piece, that's a workshop garage which we're building for the landowner, the current landowner, and well, the rest of it is obviously parking. At the moment, there is there's basically a rundown concrete, prefabricated concrete panel garage and some tarmac to be demolished, but it's fairly clear. It's fairly clear. There's a small amount of demolition to be done before putting that new build on.
Okay, that's fine. I think there's another picture coming up, which maybe we can clarify that as well. I've noticed a few people have been raising hands. We don't open up the mic or anything on these calls, otherwise we just lose time. So those who have raised hands, by all means, drop your question, or if it's a point you want to make, drop it into the Q&A, please, and we'll try and deal with it as we're going along, or we should have some time at the end where we'll come back to questions. So if you've asked a question that hasn't been answered yet, don't worry. we want to get through the information, and then we'll circle back on some of the questions. So, okay, I think that explains that. So really the last slide in terms of the actual project, here are the financials. I thought this image might help a little bit. So this is obviously the new build, the apartments with the garage in behind, with this being the existing building. So if that
That's
should answer
correct.
the question, the question that was
Yeah,
asked,
that is correct.
that should answer it. Okay. So do you want to just talk through sort of some of the numbers? I've highlighted the summary, and again, let me emphasize sort of the full breakdown of numbers can be accessed via the equity offer document, which you can access to when you're registered on the LEOpropcrowd site. But in terms of the sort of the headline figures, I'll let you run through these quickly, Ed. Particularly, obviously, I think the net profit is the key one that investors are wanting to focus in on.
Yeah, of course. So we are raising £100,000 of equity investment through the crowd, which means we're selling shares in the SPV that we're going to create. We already have created for this development. The total acquisition costs are the purchase price, which is including the purchase price, the legals, and that's that sort of thing. But yeah, the full breakdown is online, so I'm not going to go into it real by real. Next one is the total build costs. Then there's the senior debt costs and legals exit costs, which make up a total cost of 510, 490. That's predicted.
Mm-hmm.
And
your
net GDV
and that
is
GDV,
680.
Sorry to jump in on you. That GDV, just to highlight, has obviously been arrived at independently by a local estate agent
And a valuer.
Stroke valuer. So that's 680 is a verifiable figure, just to highlight that.
Yeah, we've had a desktop valuation done, and we've had an independent sales valuation by one of the area managers of the estate agents.
Mm-hmm. Could I butt in a minute?
There is currently, right at this moment, there is a full red book valuation being carried out.
RICS valuation.
It's actually happening. The site visit on Friday. We're expecting a full red book valuation of 680 GDV in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
we'll make that available to people.
That will be available.
That'll be available to view.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is a good time now to bring in about the COVID situation, because it's relevant to the figures. So I suppose it's a double-edged question, and we'll kind of wrap up this part of the project overview on this point. So COVID obviously, of course, will have an impact on valuations, on potentially materials. So you've obviously tried to factor in some aspects on that. But I suppose the big question for an investor is going to be, how robust are these figures given COVID? You've mentioned your senior debt. What was their view in terms of how are they valuing this? What did they think it might be in 12 months' time? Or just share with us the thought process that went into the factoring COVID-19 into your project.
Yeah, sure. So we keep in constant dialogue with the prominent valuers in the region. We deal with them all the time for one reason or another, buying sites, looking at sites. So we know what's going on in the background, and the general opinion in the profession, the professional valuers, is that whilst no one can predict what instability there will be in the next 6 months. What they do is that it's their job to predict what the value is going to be in 12 months when these plots would come to the market. It's their job to, if we sell them, not obviously if we're selling them, what the market would be in 12 months, how would they sell then? In locations like Bristol and Bath, there is no indication they haven't been provided with any indication by their governing body, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, that there be any significant effect on the prices.
Can I just put it on? We actually are seeing that this week. We've noticed a big uptick. The press comment last week was pretty diabolical. I didn't agree with it. But we've since discovered that everyone we're talking to is saying it's picking up very quickly. Irrespective of, we're not trying to sell these anyway. I think there's a big demand for rental properties, and even if we're a little bit out with the valuations, which I don't think we will be, we've got more than enough cover and cash ourselves to get these off the main bank one way or the other.
Is it fair to say, Miles, that if we'd say pre-COVID the price is sort of here, certainly with COVID and the uncertainty, if you were to try and buy it right now, the price is lower, and there's all the different factors into that. But what I think you're saying, based on talking to the senior debt lender and your own professional people in Bristol, is we were here pre-COVID. We're certainly going to have a short-term dip, but within 12 months, the expectation is we're back somewhere where we were pre-COVID. Is that a fair summary of what you've said?
I can only describe what's happening in Bristol and Bath. What's happening in Bath is already happened. Anybody who was hoping to jump in and buy stuff cheaply, you've missed the boat. The stuff that was going cheap came on the market 2 months ago. It's already, I'm on about land now, it's already going back up again. Because we made loads of offers on sites, and they're all getting turned down again now.
The opportunities were 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's too late. The market's already picking up. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's really good. So, what I'd like to do quickly is deal with some of the questions if I can. Some of these I can just answer myself, which I'll do for sake of time. If I just say to those who've asked questions, if we don't answer it tonight, then we will follow up by email. But again, let me point you in the direction of our forum. So you can go on to the landing page of this project, and you can actually go into the forum and speak to Ed and Miles directly through our forum. That's an important way of doing it, because it's, again, on an FCA authorized forum, and it keeps the financial promotion side of things correct, because everything that's asked and answered is then documented. So let me just try and run down some of these questions that are most relevant. What happens if one person is happy to invest a full amount? We would prefer that wasn't the case. And I'm sure Ed and Miles agree with this, in the sense that we know we have multiple investors who are wanting to invest in this. And I think it's fair to say, Ed, part of this process is about reaching out to further investors and a group of investors. That's part of the crowdfunding model, to keep expanding your group of investors.
Yeah, we're firmly behind the idea of crowdfunding, and I personally would like to see as many individuals involved with this project as possible. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
And, we could deliver the most value that way.
Yeah.
Not just money, because it's not just, we're not just offering money. We're offering learning and education. So yes,
it's also the start of your career,
and it's the start of a career, Chris.
Yeah,
not from me. It's the start of your career.
Yeah, you're a bit near the end.
You've got a few grey hairs.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, I need to move on quite quickly here. I need to keep blasting on here. Name of the company someone's asked, so it's there on the screen now. It's Beaumont Homes. You can see them all over social media and websites. So I think we've dealt with the buildings issue. Again, the person that asked that, if they need more clarity, just ask us. I think we've talked about the pandemic and how it might affect the project and the construction.
I put a big post on the forum about the health and safety, actually, which is worth looking at.
Make it clear, the building work is carried out by wholly owned building companies owned by the family.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And it'll and obviously your construction plans will obviously fully comply with the current regulations and guidelines. Okay.
Yeah, we've had to the project timeline is well in excess of what we would normally attribute to a project like this. This is only a small project, really. There's no way on earth that we would, in a normal circumstance, it should take 12 months to build this property.
Okay. No, that's fine. There's quite a few technical questions here about rental income, about square footage, different things like that. I'm going to knock it into that tonight, just because A, a lot of it's covered in the offer doc, and B, we can answer any of those questions directly. I'm just conscious of time here, and we could spend a lot of time delving into that minute detail. But certainly, those who have asked those questions, we'll definitely come back to you on it.
There's a robust analysis available. We make it available to everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I've got a sales appraisal for each apartment as well, which does have the square footages.
Yeah, brilliant.
I can share that. That's fine.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So someone's asked here about what is the investment security on the deal, first, second charge. It's really important to highlight that this is an equity investment. This is not a loan type structure. So it's not a case of first or second charge. The investors will have a shareholding in the SPV. So effectively the shares are the security in that sense. The shareholder agreement obviously indicates what the principals can and can't do with the project. So it's very much aligned with the offer document. This obviously been financial promotions approved, and the share agreement reflects that in terms of exit strategies, etc. So that's how the security works. Square footage of flats.
You have a share in the company that owns the property.
Correct.
That's it. Yeah.
So does that mean looking for new? So
certainly
looking for
owners.
We're certainly looking for individual investors. Someone's asked here, but obviously the idea is multiple investors. So we definitely want new investors for sure. We just don't really want one person to take the whole 100K, obviously.
We've got other opportunities available if this one's successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's okay. Developer, so some questions here about the actual spreadsheet. Again, I don't want to get into sort of GDV and developer cash. Developers are putting in some cash. We've accounted for that in a way to give us an accurate net profit. But again, we'll deal with that separately. And again, the answers are probably in the offer document. So again, we'll come back and answer that. So I think we're all, questions galore here, which is brilliant. Potential buyer property. Okay, so it's mentioned here potential buyers. Let me just highlight one thing. It may well be that for the investor to be paid back, it could be a combination of refinancing and perhaps selling one unit, Ed, depending on the values in 12 months. So I think it's important to say it may well be a combination of those. Ideally, these are sort of build to rent for Beaumont, but you may well sell one to ensure that the cash is there to pay back the investors. Is that accurate? That's
the intention. Other than that, we are able to prime it ourselves. We got a number of ways of dealing with it. The investors we don't have to sell all of them, because we might end up putting some money in ourselves and keeping all of them. On the other hand, if we get a rush and we get a good interest, we might sell one. We'll see what happens. What do you think?
Okay, I wanted just to highlight that, everyone, which is great. So again, a number of questions here about exit strategy. So
number one is refinance, and that is what we're going for. And but there's always the option to sell.
Yeah. Okay.
If refinancing doesn't prove to be the best way of dealing with it, but to my mind, the figures work in such a way that we can refinance and we can pay off the investors very quickly and move on to another project.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. There's some questions in there about tax and things like that, which again, I don't want to get into right now. Again, we'll answer those questions separately by email if needs be, or again, jump on the forum. So guys, if you just sort of stay where you are, is fine. I have about 4 or 5 minutes here to wrap up, but I want to bring it at the very, very end, just in case there's any major questions come in. But let me carry on quickly with a couple other very, very important slides. So Again, I've already highlighted that we are a property crowdfunding platform. You can go on the FCA, see our register, etc. We have to abide by those guidelines and rules. So what's really important to the people who are on the call, and this is to those who have not yet registered and completed their full investor ready process. So let me explain. If you were to go to our homepage and select this project, initially there's going to be login and registration in the top, and you'll see here that in this situation you're not logged in, you're not registered yet. So here you're not able to actually access the offer document. You have to go through initial registration, which is leaving some initial details, but then be a confirmation email. And then when you've verified your email, then you'll have logged in, you'll have an account. Top right hand side, as I've highlighted here, you'll see a drop down box which will talk about portfolio, your profile, your messages. So when you're able to access that box, you now know that you're registered, and then at that point you'll actually be able to download the document. Now, in terms of being investor ready, and this is very, very important to any potential investors for tomorrow, you must complete a KYC. You've got to upload an ID document. You must do your anti-money laundering, your AML, provide a proof of address, and you also have to take a small or short multiple choice test. Now, this is important in terms of compliance because this is you confirming you understand the nature of this type of investment. This is an equity investment. There's no absolute guarantee on funds, interest or anything like that. It's an equity investment. And of course, capital is at risk. Returns can go up and down. And it's important that you understand the nature of that investment. So there's a series of questions. You get those right. And now, effectively, you're an eligible investor. You'll also be asked to designate if you're a retail restricted investor, sophisticated, or a high net worth investor. So that's a process that you have to do before you're able to invest on the platform. And that's the same for every crowdfunding platform. So once you've done that, now when you go back in, you'll be able to download the offer document. And this is quite a detailed document. It goes into a lot more detail about the project, the finances, and probably most of the questions that have been asked will be answered in that document. So I encourage you to download that, read it, and that's really the information that you're basing your investment decision on. If you then decide to invest 12 o'clock tomorrow when this goes live, then you would log back in, and when you're on the investment page and you click that you want to invest, you'll now be asked to insert the amount of funds that you wish to invest. Now, in this case, our unit price is obviously £100 per share, and there's 1,000 shares issued to give us a 100k raise. So you'll be able to select that, and it'll tell you how many shares effectively that you're purchasing with your investment. So that's how that is done. And then we simply move through to the payment methods. And let me briefly explain that there are two methods of payment. The first is via bank transfer. So if you select that, you'll then be given a unique reference number. That reference number then goes to the bank when you wish to transfer the funds. And obviously, it makes sense to get those funds transferred. They will go into your personal e-wallet on the platform. So they're still in your control at this point. It's your money. It's just in a e-wallet on the platform. And you'll not actually be asked to part with your funds until the project's successful. It's a 14-day cooling off period where you get a chance to look at the share offer or the shareholder agreement. And at that point is when you press the button to confirm that you wish the money to transfer to the SPV controlled by Beaumont Homes, and it moves to their wallet. So that's the bank transfer method. The e-wallet method is where you move the money literally just straight into your e-wallet now, and it's there. And again, when the project finishes, you simply move it from the e-wallet to the e-wallet of the SPV. So I hope that explains the e-wallet. The money moves immediately. The bank transfer, will only move whenever you put your unique reference number in. Some move it immediately, so it's there. Others choose just to wait until they confirm it's a successful raise, and then they move it. But either way, we end up at the same point with a successful raise. So I hope that's been of short and sharp, but I wanted to make sure to get that across. Any questions on registration, please reach out to us, and we'll be glad to help you with that. So really, just to sort of wrap up, and I'll bring Ed and Miles in for one final comment. And there's probably a better image of the question earlier. Existing building, new building, garage to the back. The platform in terms of LEOpropcrowd, we have done due diligence. This is not us saying that this is a brilliant investment. We do not give any investment advice, but we certainly have, for our own satisfaction and to satisfy our FCA licensed company, we've done due diligence on the financial appraisal. We've checked the numbers to make sure they add up. We have obviously verified things like the option agreement, things like the planning, and we've looked at the legal entity that Beaumont have set up in terms of the SPV. So that has all been checked by us. You then look at the information and decide if it's an investment that you would like to invest in. So this is really the last slide, guys. I'll just give you one sort of 30 seconds each to wrap this up, and then we can finish. So any last minute comments or any last minute thoughts you want to share?
It might be interesting for potential investors to make a note that the site actually is adjacent to a very beautiful cycle path. It's a cycle path that runs between Bath and Bristol, and it used to be a railway line, but it travels along the Avon Valley. The railway is the small section left with a steam engine on it, but primarily there's a lot of commuters now using e-bikes, and you can get from this site directly onto the cycle path, which I think is very pleasant.
Yeah, very much so. Excellent. That's a good point. Ed, any last minute thoughts or comments?
Yeah, sure. I think that this development will particularly appeal to the Bath market, because although we're only 10 minutes away from Bath in the car here, the price for these apartments, even though they're going to be fantastic, is going to be something like half the price of a similar
thing in Bath,
apartment in Bath, which wouldn't have any parking.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's very good. Okay, so let me just wrap this up then. Why consider investing in this particular project? Beaumont Homes, 35-year track record, traded through 3 recessions. This particular project is a projected 30% ROI over 12 months, and there are some investor-friendly structures put in place that if for some reason it does run over that, then actually the investors are protected in that situation, in that structure. You can actually learn how to invest on a crowdfunding platform by receiving a look at the development project from under the hood or under the bonnet, as I say, and you can invest as little as £100. So again, we always point out capital at risk, returns not guaranteed, but there we have it. And again, just to stress, this goes live tomorrow at 12 o'clock. If it is something that you're interested in doing, you need to make sure that you're investor ready. You need to have done your KYC, your AML, and the test. So again, I keep emphasizing that, because what tends to happen is people will log on at 12 o'clock, realize they've still to do some things, and then they're trying to fix their KYC or the AML, and other people are investing in the project, and whatever happens after that. So as I say, make your own investment decision. We have had a significant interest, even judging by those on here tonight, the amount of questions I haven't even got around to answering. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, finish your due diligence, and then be ready at 12 o'clock tomorrow to take action if you so wish. So that effectively is the end of the presentation. I really do appreciate Ed and Miles for being able to be with us tonight. thank Avina in the background there. She's been texting away like mad with the different questions and keeping an eye on those for me. So I appreciate that, Avina. And guys, we will talk tomorrow, obviously, as we get near 12 o'clock. We look forward to, we hope to be a very successful race. So say goodbye to everyone, and we'll get all your questions answered over the next 2 or 3 hours by email. And above all, in the current climate, stay safe